We got what we got, and we did not get the movie we wanted, but we got the movie that, for some reason, we deserved. I don't know what the fuck we did with our lives, but it
Yeah,
wasn't
I
good,
know.
dude.
What did we do to deserve this, man? What is up? This is a special edition of Film Villains. Alex and I just went to go see Beetlejuice, and we have a lot to say about it. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about it as general as possible for the first half of this review. And then midway through, we'll give you a signal. We'll say, hey, here's a lot of spoilers, and you can tune out if you haven't seen the movie yet, and come back and talk shit to us if you, disagree or agree with our assessment of this film. So,
Or maybe
Alex,
you can watch what we say right now and fuck the spoilers and get them, and maybe save yourself $15 and you can go see Deadpool and Wolverine again. Who knows?
yeah. What did you think of the movie, Alex? We only talked like for a couple of minutes after the movie because we knew we were going to talk here.
Um, Tim Burton hasn't really made a movie that I've loved in about 20 years,
Yeah.
and that statement is still true.
Yeah, it is still true for me, and I mean I've basically given up on Tim Burton over the past I don't know how many years. It's probably been 20 years because
Big Fish. That was the last stellar flick.
Alice in Wonderland, Sweeney Todd, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I didn't even like Corpse Bride. Oh no, and Big Eyes. I actually kind of liked Big Eyes.
I didn't see that, so my statement stays the same.
As you all know, I just poured a drink because I need a drink after this movie. Let's go over the generalities of what we thought of this movie. Alex, as a person that you probably didn't see the movie when it came out in 1988 in the theater, right?
No, I probably would have caught it on VHS.
Yeah, and I went twice because it was just so unique, so phenomenally weird, and there was nothing else like it. You have this couple who dies at the beginning. Both of your heroes die at the beginning of the movie, and then they end up being the ghosts that are haunting this family of weirdos that enter their house and start living in their house after they're dead. And their goal is to chase the people away and scare them as much as possible. And when they can't do that, they enlist the help of this weird paranormal creepoid named Beetlejuice, who's kind of a perv, and he's a fucking a prankster. He starts kind of falling in love with the younger daughter,
who is a very endearing weirdo, and she can see that couple because only the strange and unusual can see the strange and unusual.
Oh yes, only and she was kind of a hero for all of us little weirdos. And even if you weren't a weirdo, if you liked that character, you probably ended up becoming a weirdo and started listening to goth music or punk music or just outsider shit because of this character. So she's a very, very influential character in all of our lives.
This is Lydia Deetz, played by
Lydia Deetz, played by Winona Ryder. Alex, what were your first impressions of the fucking movie, man?
I wanted to like it. I walked in. I definitely smiled a bit in the first act. I was seeing characters I hadn't seen in a long time. I'm seeing a bunch of actors that I love and I think can do no wrong. Catherine O'Hara, Winona Ryder, Jenna Ortega, Michael fucking Keaton. Like, all the ingredients are there for a really good recipe. And I saw it just slowly fall apart and be a whole bunch of side stories that didn't really connect, and a whole bunch of characters that the only reason I cared about these characters is because, like I said, I'm familiar with them or I enjoy the actor already, but there was nothing in the film that had me attached to anybody in it. What were your first thoughts?
It did not please me one bit. I found myself squirming. My leg was shaking. I was just completely anxious. I wanted to be out of that theater as soon as possible. I could not wait for the movie to end. And that was probably within about 15 or 20 minutes of the movie being on, and me just trying to accept the movie as it was. I was just getting so anxious. I was so fucking annoyed. there was hardly anything that I really enjoyed about this movie, and I was so happy when it ended. I was much more happy when it ended than being involved in watching it.
I know. As filmmakers, we always sit through the credits, and you did not sit through the credits.
Oh yeah, I was. Yeah,
I was proud you made it through the movie. There was a scene at the end where you and Ack is still in the 90s and needs that like weird barrier between him and the dude he's sitting next to at the movie. No,
Yeah.
I don't know anybody else that does that anymore, but he does.
No, yeah. No, I wanted to stretch out, man. You need to stretch out. You stretch out, man.
Whatever.
We don't need to be. We don't need to.
He was afraid he was going to like me if he was too close to me. It's okay. But I mean, I could feel his distress even with that amount of space inside. And it was just so uncomfortable. Yeah. I was impressed you made it to the end of the movie, to be honest. I thought you were just going to go outside. You were going to go pick up a bottle, maybe some heroin, and just try to find a different life. I don't know.
Yeah. I probably won't start doing heroin after watching this movie and want to not care about the rest of my life. But just having to sit there and watch it was once is enough. I will never, ever watch this movie again. All right, everyone. This is the point where we're going to do a lot of spoilers. So if you're planning on seeing the film, go check it out. And you can always come back and check out the rest of our video.
The trailer leads to a possibility of an enjoyable movie. There's a lot of Tim Burton here. We had Jenna Ortega come out with a joke that didn't even make it in the fucking movie. We have the bridge that the original couple died on.
Yeah. You see the bridge in the opening credits, and the opening credits is kind of very similar in tone and feel as the first movie. But then you go into Lydia is now a paranormal, like a talk show host. And she goes into haunted houses and examines them and brings a camera crew, and that was like, oh, okay, that's okay, it's all right. It wasn't the best kind of entrance that you could have for this beloved character. If you're like returning a character, you have to have a fucking good new entrance for the character. It was okay. It was just her talking to the camera. Okay, all right. She starts seeing flashes of Beetlejuice everywhere, and this is kind of just the first scene of the movie. She sees a flash of Beetlejuice, has anxiety about it, leaves the show, goes into the bathroom, and lo and behold, she has this creepy, weird boyfriend who's also her manager and maybe a producer on the show. And I could not stand him at all, his character. I think he was...
Obviously, the goal was we're supposed to hate him, but even at
of course. Of course, I'd rather have a character that I love to hate and not hate to hate.
Exactly, it was definitely a hate to hate.
And this character was just so fucking obnoxious. And
the best characters you don't like, they're still the hero of their story. Like that guy didn't have anything going on his side. That
no, he had nothing going on. The only thing he had going on was just, he wants to be with Lydia, and that's about it. Like his entire arc, there is no arc to him. That's all he is, and it's just bullshit. And so anything with him in it was completely frustrating to watch, and I could not do it. When it goes to some of the legacy characters like Delia and Catherine O'Hara, her opening and her entrance, she's still in the art world. Her husband, she's calling Lydia and saying, hey, my husband, your dad Charles is dead. And that's kind of the whole driving force of the movie, is that Lydia has to go back
that brings them all together
to the house and go hang out with mom and go to the funeral. And now she has a daughter named Astrid, and so all of them are converging into this house once again. And the frustrating part of these entrances is that and then they sprinkle Beetlejuice throughout, like way earlier than they did back in the original film, because he came in way later, maybe like halfway through the movie. This time they're sprinkling him in the film throughout. And so Catherine O'Hara's entrance is not good in the movie. It's just her scene is so flat and unfunny. She's at an art gallery where she is. I didn't. Did you get what was going on in that first scene? She was supposed to lay against a wall and be painted on or something. I don't fucking know what's going on. And the guy was complaining. Oh man, the guy was complaining like, "Why are you not here?" Even though her husband just died. Why are you not here so I can paint over you? Or like, I don't know what the fuck that was. So that was all fucking bullshit. And then we get over to the house, and the house entrance is also like, you don't see the characters really in the house together that much. You don't get to go and have those magical moments where you're revisiting these places in the house that were magical, that like really stood out back in the day. They've missed all of these opportunities, and they could have had Winona Ryder really go in and just have a nice tour of the house. The first time you see the attic is with Astrid, and that was really frustrating because that's Lydia's space. That we knew that's Lydia's space. So why do you have this other character walking in to the attic that we don't even know who the fuck it is? We don't care. We just know it's Jenna Ortega, so maybe you like her from other stuff, but that doesn't mean you like the character. And this is Lydia Space, who sparked and the previous owners like the Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis. That was their space as well, and that became Lydia's space because she connected with those people there, and it was a very important space. And so that really frustrated me. The worst entrance of a character, of a legacy character, was Beetlejuice himself. Usually, if you're going to reintroduce a character in a new movie or whatever, you might shoot them from behind. But he's at a desk and he's working this, almost this 9-to-5 office job with all of the shrunken head guys. And I don't even know what they're actually doing, pushing papers for the netherworld and this purgatory that they're in, right? But he just turns around and he says this dull and boring line to another character, and it's just it doesn't have that like the grandiose entrance that we would love and expect from Beetlejuice. Because we got that in the first movie, and then it's just like, all it is him going, oh yeah, right, oh okay. And his first few scenes, literally the first 20 lines, we were in a lower budget theater, so we weren't in the tip top prime theater, and it was a little hot in there. It's 170 degrees outside, and they probably didn't have the AC up, but the volume was not very loud, and I don't know if it was just the movie or not, but I know his delivery in those first few scenes were like, and you couldn't hear him. I didn't know what the fuck he was saying at all, and that was very, very frustrating. It was like, so I don't know what he was saying in the first few scenes. That's my initial reaction to like the opening of the characters that frustrated me the most. Once I was that frustrated, and once the scenes were falling so flat, especially with Catherine O'Hara in the art gallery, I was just like, oh man, I'm starting to fucking nosedive and turn off, man.
I was still hopeful. I was hopeful.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for like the story to start. And then like by the time it started, it was just like 5 different half-ass stories going on at the same time. Like it was just a pinch of this, a pinch of this, a pinch of this. And like you're not really attached to any of the storylines. You're not really attached to any of the characters. You're not really rooting for any outcomes. Like none of it.
Yeah.
I was hopeful that, the little romance situation between Jenna Ortega and the one kid was going to go a bit deeper, and that just kind of fell. There's a thing with like her dad you were expecting more from. There was just so much possibility to go deep with story and explore these characters and like let them interact with each other. But it was kind of just like they all showed up with each other at the end. I mean, I was expecting a lot more interaction between Jenna Ortega and Beetlejuice for sure. Like her being the young Lydia is what I was expecting. I was expecting them to have the special bond that Lydia, because it's not the Lydia Dietz. This Lydia Dietz is not the one from the movie we grew up with. No. This is like a shell-shocked, like pill-ridden, panicked version of that Lydia.
Yeah.
Like that. it is someone that's been living in like denial and fear for 30 years. So like we're not getting the person we're going back there to see. And I was hoping we were going to see that girl in Jenna Ortega, but that's just not what we got. Jenna Ortega was just along for the ride.
The best part about Winona Ryder's Lydia from the 88 version was that she was this wide-eyed girl who, you know, was kind of thrust into this situation where she had to start believing in ghosts with this family, and they were actually really nice ghosts, but she had this family that wanted to exploit the ghosts and have dinner parties where they could manipulate the ghosts into showing up at the dinner party so they could be the talk of the town, and that frustrated her. But she was really entranced by these people, and you didn't get that at all here. You don't get that wide-eyed, like, wow. There wasn't a character going wow in the whole movie, and there was there was just these characters that were just you know, they were just there, and it's like, okay, dad died because, you know, Jeffrey Jones took pictures of little kids back in the day, and they're not going to invite him back, so his character is dead. They had this weird, almost claymation-y looking CG sequence where he's in an airplane. The airplane crashes and he gets eaten by a shark. But that was really strange because they're using his likeness. So obviously he's actually getting a paycheck for using his likeness. And so I wonder if they might end up canceling this movie,
because I mean it was claymation and it was like definitely a cartoon version of that character. I don't know where that lies, and versus, you know, like the Back to the Future 2 Crispin Glover likeness, where it's like they made it look exactly like him and sound exactly like him, like without any permission.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely some part of that estate somehow got something. There's no way you could do that without it.
Yeah. No, he definitely did, because it was SAG rules and all that. It's not like in 1988 they could just own his likeness forever and just, well, I mean, maybe they could. I mean, well, obviously for merchandise if they needed to, but
Right.
but they had a character. They had an actor speaking lines for him too in the claymation version, and then they had different photos of him and all that, and then they had his character half chopped off and all that, and in the final scene with Catherine O'Hara in the subway station, I actually kind of like that little moment where she's going up to her half, like her husband is completely half dead, and he's talking to her, and all this blood is spurting into her face. Like, I thought that was actually really cool. That was one of my more enjoyable moments of the movie.
That was funny, and I mean, it is. I mean, if you don't want to show someone's face in something, what do? You fucking chop off their head. Like, it's pretty fucking.
Yeah.
It's a smart way to have that character in it. I think they could have gone without even really using that character as a device for the movie, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so overall, it kind of seemed like there were a lot more characters, and I started doing a count of like really how many did we lose from the last movie and how many we lost from this movie, you know. And let's say we don't have Charles because dad dies. We don't have both of like Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis's characters.
No, we do not.
And we don't have Otho, who you know, as a human, he also died many years ago. So without those four characters, now you have Astrid, you have Monica Bellucci's character, who is called Dolores.
She looked cool. That had potential.
Yeah, she looked cool. But
I thought she was going to be a bigger character from the previews, to be honest, than she was. Like, she gets like one featured scene really, and a couple things that tie things together. But
yeah, Monica Bellucci's character, she has this kind of cool sequence where, you know, I actually did like it, but it went on very, very long. It's like where she puts herself together and she staples herself together, and it's really, you know, it's a really cool sequence.
It's cool, but yeah,
you don't know who this character is.
Substantial part of the movie for it too.
Yeah, you don't know who this character is.
It was a cool standalone little piece. I don't know what
Yeah.
it. Yeah. If
Yeah,
it
and
was
they,
a music video, would have been cool.
Monica Bellucci's character Dolores sucks the souls of 3 different people at least, maybe 4. And nothing ever changes. It's always this, just her going up is this seductress and just walking up with her lips and sucking their souls. But do you recall anything ever being different? Like,
I mean,
about
just that
any,
character's gone. That's it.
yeah, I mean,
She
it's
could have
just
walked up and knifed him or whatever.
yeah, here's another character that's gone, and I don't know what she's doing with these souls. And it, after the first time when you see them kind of suck into themselves, and she just drops this bag of skin without any flesh. I mean, that was like, oh, that was really cool. But then after you see it the 3rd or the 4th time, or however many times it happens, it's like
multiple.
Yeah, like how many more times do we need to see this? And what else is there to this character besides? And why the fuck is she going after Beetlejuice? I do not know. She married Beetlejuice in order to kill Beetlejuice and take his soul as I don't know.
This is pre-afterlife.
Yeah, as this lover. I don't know if it's like the love between them is what's going to give her power, or why couldn't she just do that with a normal person? And this is like all set in this. I don't even know if it was Black Sunday inspired, because they did bring up Mario Bava, right? So if it's a Black Sunday inspired, was it in Spanish or Italian or some? I couldn't hear anything that Beetlejuice said at all.
I mean, it was just foreign language with subtitles.
Yeah,
I again didn't hear too much.
Yeah, I couldn't hear what he was actually saying because his like Beetlejuice's voice was so low. But there's this flashback with the Monica Bellucci character that's supposedly his love, and she marries him, and on their honeymoon night they are in the bedroom, and he's wearing this weird white fucking boring, I don't know if it's a tunic, I don't know what you would call it. He's just like Uncle Scrooge attire, right? Like going to bed, and she's wearing I'm pretty sure she was like dressed to the nines and looking awesome like she should. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then she's like, I'm gonna suck your soul. And then he throws the wine glass in the fucking fire. And I don't know why or what. I don't remember what happened. Like, I think he killed her, and that's her entire motivation for the rest of the movie. But I don't know why. Like, why are you still going after Beetlejuice? Why do you still need his fucking soul after he's already dead?
Right.
You know,
you think why? You want some go get Lydia Dietz's soul. Go get fucking Astrid's soul.
Go get a living person's soul. But she's dead, so maybe she needs the dead of a soul. Like,
I don't have the handbook for the recently deceased. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's in the handbook.
Soul-sucker cult.
Yeah. So so here's another thing. Speaking of dead souls, I think the new Ghostbusters was called Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Afterlife was fucking.
Oh, Afterlife was the good one.
Afterlife's the good one.
Okay. So, what's the new one called? Do you remember?
Frozen Empire.
Okay. In the 80s, there were connections with Ghostbusters and Beetlejuice because you're dealing with these supernatural characters and these horror comedies and just super fun movies. But Beetlejuice came out 4 years later after Ghostbusters. But now we're kind of going full circle because Ghostbusters has already been allowed to make a bunch of movies since then, or at least 4 more movies since then. And I'm like, did the same writers from the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire write this thing, or did they fucking read that script and write Beetlejuice? Because that, you know how in Frozen Empire you have the younger character who falls in love with this lesbian ghost. And then in the new one, you have Jenna Ortega's character falls in love with this ghost. It's a straight relationship, but And then he backstabs her, of course, just like in Frozen Empire. If hopefully you, I'm not spoiling it, but I
You
highly
had your chance.
I highly recommend to never watch Frozen Empire.
But Afterlife, highly
Afterlife is
suggest you watch
awesome.
Afterlife. That
Yes,
is how
Afterlife is
sequels are
awesome.
done. That
Yes,
movie needed to be made.
yes.
Nothing else.
They should have been more copying Afterlife than Frozen Empire, because it actually was kind of nice and endearing. And because Jenna Ortega's Astrid is very quirky and she's weird, and she brings a little bit of an endearing quality to it. I enjoyed watching her on screen. Like, I didn't really I wasn't bugged by her at all, really. And the little love story that happens, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I wouldn't mind being in a tree house and falling in love with this character. She's kind of cool.
Yeah, he was pretty adorable, right?
Oh yes, he was.
No, they're a cute, endearing
Yeah,
little two set of characters. That totally could have evolved into some kind of cool storyline thing.
yeah, it could have been like, if you're not gonna have a great story for Lydia, then you could at least had a great story for them and had them come together and work together. But once again, you always have to have this like backstabbing, fakery shit going on, where it's he becomes, he's this dead guy who now is using Astrid to get into the other side and trade souls with her. I don't, I missed a little bit because I had to go pee so bad. And so,
Yeah, but he's the vehicle to get Astrid into the afterlife. So then
yeah.
Lydia has a vehicle to have to say that
Mm.
name 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
But once Lydia said the name 3 times, like, okay, this character's done. We don't need him anymore. Forget about that fucking story. It's over.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like an hour in, he was gone. And you're like, okay, well, we spent all this time fucking setting him up. So I want to kind of go down a list of a few of the things that I really enjoyed. The main thing that I saw that's missing from this, in a general perspective, is that when during the original Beetlejuice, the endearing parts of like this, like, like the sentimental, the love, and all that stuff comes from Lydia having this this kind of like disjointed connection with her parents, because they are just shitty, kind of vapid people, right? And so she starts a relationship with Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin's characters, even though they're ghosts. They're two loving, normal characters who respect, just have a great amount of respect for people, and they make this beautiful connection as like a living person and these two ghosts. Besides that, the best parts of Beetlejuice are the not sentimental moments and the coldness, and the that's where all the humor comes from. And even Lydia is just a cold character, just because of the way she was brought up with her parents, and that's where all of the humor stems from, and all of like the love and the nice moments, which are few and far between, are just between her and that couple. But here we have, it's just spread throughout the entire movie, this syrupy, sappy crap that we have to just endure, those forced moments between characters, just to fucking give us conflict, and it just becomes annoying the entire time. And I just got more and more annoyed by all of that fucking fabricated the fabricated drama between characters. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think they were trying to hit into our, sentimentality, but like, you just need to hit us with the nostalgia for that. Like, that's all you needed to do, Like, we didn't
yeah,
need to do it this way.
yeah,
And yeah, you were definitely seeing forced, like, endearing things from characters where that was never a thing. But You know, we got what we got, and we did not get the movie we wanted, but we got the movie that, for some reason, we deserved. I don't know what the fuck we did with our lives, but it
Yeah,
wasn't
I
good,
know.
dude.
What did we do to deserve this, man? Like a kind of a flat Beetlejuice through the whole movie. Uh,
What the fuck was up with Willem Dafoe, bro? You've got
dude,
one of the
and
greatest
why?
actors of all time, and he doesn't even need to be there.
Yeah, and why was you could actually delete William Dafoe, and you can delete Monica Bellucci's characters, and the movie is probably going to survive just
And
as very similarly. It's not going to be
yeah,
fine,
and
but
both
it's going
those
to be
characters had
similar.
so much potential, but you just
Yeah,
didn't do enough with it. I didn't get to care about it.
yeah. I don't really know how Willem Dafoe's character, as when he was in the living world, he was an actor who did action movies. How it really translated into the new, like the, like coming back in after he's dead, coming back into the living world. I don't really know. And and like you had said, he's like frozen through the entire third act or most of the third act. He comes in
Right.
and they just like Beetle just freezes everyone in the room, and then you have Willem Dafoe is just in this
Right.
weird position. It's like, why?
Yeah, you have
Why?
like five amazing actors frozen at the exact same time and just the
Yeah.
longest fucking music video dance sequence of all time,
Yeah. So
which is definitely the jumping the shark moment as far as I felt like that was when, are
yeah.
we going to be redeemed in the final act? No, it's going to
No.
fucking suck in the final act. Like,
Yeah.
all hope is lost. All ye who have hope abandon before the final act of Beetlejuice 2.
Why didn't they do some sort of surprise where we don't know that there's going to be a wedding scene at the end? Obviously, they're probably going to fucking ape it from the original movie. We already know they're going to just take every little moment that worked in the original movie and they're going to use it in this movie. But they projected it so early on where you have a Winona Ryder's love interest wanting to marry her, and then he kind of gets her into this forced situation. It's just so cringe where he does it at her dad's funeral. He proposes to her, and then he's like, "Oh, well, yeah, we need to do it in 2 days," and it's so everything is so forced, and it's like, well, okay, oh, now that we know there's a marriage scene, it's going to happen at the end of it, and Beetlejuice is going to come in, and it's like, oh my god, why couldn't they just do something where, why couldn't they make it a surprise where we didn't expect it, and Beetlejuice comes in with the grandeur, but he doesn't come in with any grandeur. The scene takes place in this boring interior white church, and there's nothing spectacular about it, and then they go into the song. Could probably, like, I heard it just now a little bit. I'd heard a tiny bit of it outside of the movie, and I'm like, oh, okay, that could go. That's a Euro pop rock and roll, a very baroque Euro pop rock and roll song made by Richard Harris. We had to look it up. Called MacArthur Park. It probably would have been fine outside of the movie. Like, I've listened to cheesy stuff like that every once in a while outside of the, I would totally listen to it probably. But within the movie, I was so frustrated by that by the time the finale happens. And this is the moment, with the big moment where everyone starts lip syncing, just like in the original.
The Deo throwback.
It's the Deo throwback. And the jump in the line throwback, the jump in the line.
Fail.
But it totally fails. It's so unbelievably cringy that you're like, why are we watching this utter cheese being lip synced? And it wasn't like it was a minute. It was, I mean, the song is 7 minutes. I don't know how long they used the song in this movie, but it was.
I feel like they looped it 3 or 4 times. It had to have been a half hour.
Yeah, it was excruciating. They must have played the whole 7 minutes of this song. You heard me 2 seats away because I didn't want to snuggle up next to you, but it was like I was fidgeting so hard. I wanted to get out of that seat so bad. I did not want to be anywhere near this movie. It was so unbelievably rough, this scene. And they have this dance sequence and other characters coming in, and there's this band acting out like they're playing the song above the church pews and all that. I could not fucking stand that scene. That was the worst part of the movie for me.
Agreed.
Oh, another thing.
Skin.
Why are both of the dads, Charles and then Astrid's dad, what was the connection of both of them being eaten by fish in the water? Did that connection ever happen? We saw both of their dead bodies. One has piranhas hanging from him. They were these like cheesy rubber piranhas, and his whole fucking sequence with her and their
It was funny when you first saw him.
Yeah, he was like kind of, yeah, I chuckled when I saw him. He's like, oh, there's this guy with fish hanging off. But when he sees Astrid in the afterlife, why don't they hug? It's her longing for the entire movie where she's like, oh, my dad died. Oh, but, you know, that's why we know she's mopey. And that's her entire motivation of being this little semi-goth girl, is that her dad is dead. And she sees
it. It also seemed like such a huge lost plot point that, like,
yeah.
Okay, so Lydia can see dead people, but she, for some reason, cannot connect with the dad.
Yeah.
And then also we hear from Astrid that, like, and they never found my dad's body.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I expected there to be literally anything to explain either of those two things, but there was nothing to explain either of those two things whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah.
I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if that ended on the cutting room floor somewhere. I'm assuming so, but what the fuck?
Yeah. So, and why were both dads eaten by fish? I wonder if they wrote it in there and then they all just started making all of the costumes and then realized, oh shit, I guess both of these characters are being eaten by fish. I don't know. What connection can we make with them? I don't know. Well, fuck it. Okay, let's just not do any connection with them. And it's like,
yeah, dude, they were just throwing darts at the idea board and accidentally hit eaten by fish twice. So,
yeah,
you know, what were the chances?
The writing of this movie is fucking awful. I could not take it. It was so bad. I think everything about the script is bad.
It's written by people that can write too. Like I believe
Who
it's
are
the
these
writers
people?
It's the writers of the Wednesday series, and that shit was really good.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
It was a fuck ton better than this. You haven't seen it, but I promise you it was better than the movie you just saw.
Yeah.
You could even dislike it, and it's still going to be better than the movie you just saw, judging from my opinion of what I just happened.
I really hated the fact that they did a bleep during the wedding sequence for Beetlejuice saying another fuck. So with PG-13s, you can only say one fuck. He said one fuck earlier, midway through the movie, and then he said another fuck, and they bleeped it out. And I was going, what in the fuck is going on with this fucking movie? You hear the sound, the bleep sound. Do you remember this?
I don't remember that.
Yeah. They had a bleep sound. So I don't know what the fuck is going on. I would just.
I'm a product of the 80s. You were still allowed to say fucking PG movies back then, so I don't know.
Yeah. What are your final thoughts of this movie? Because I actually started wanting to fall asleep. I did fall asleep for about 10 seconds, and I should have stayed awake, but
I had a better experience than you did.
Yeah.
I went in there. I don't know if my expectations were just low. The final act fucking kicked me in the balls, though, for sure. Like, I was definitely hopeful until the last 15 or 20 minutes. But as someone who's worked a lot of his life in the art department, seeing those afterlife hallway scenes, fucking awesome. Felt Tim Burton as fuck. That's what I came there for.
The hallways were awesome.
Hallways were awesome. Seeing the afterlife, seeing them go into the DMV, take a number line, seeing the guy cut in half on the couch again. There were a lot of throwbacks, which just, hit my inner child. And that's about what I got from it, was just some nostalgia stuff. And I'm a fan, like you said, I'm a big fan of Jenna Ortega. I'd bet money on her going great. She keeps surprising me over and over again from, the Ty West flicks and fucking Scream franchise and even Wednesday. But Short of me liking her already going into that movie, there was no reason for me to like her. But like you said, her character didn't irritate me, so I was
Yeah.
kind of rooting for that and expecting that. And man, I mean, it was cool to see Michael Keaton back in the suit, but he just didn't fucking do anything with it.
Yeah, yeah, it was just a flat character for him. He could have done so much more, and I mean, there were times when he didn't seem like he was bringing it, and those were the times where I was like, "Huh, what'd you say, Beetlejuice?" Because you're someone who projects really loud, and you're a fucking obnoxious character in people's faces, and you're just having these mundane office conversations with people, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"God,
And
what?"
if we were just in the wrong theater and he was yelling at you guys and you saw it in a different one, let us know in the comments. But that was our experience for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Um,
What
yeah,
about you, Ak? What was thumbs up? What was thumbs in the
yeah.
middle?
So the nostalgia factor didn't really hit me like it did with like Ghostbusters Afterlife. That one really hit me good. This one, it was just okay. Um, it was like a retread, but it wasn't fresh. The Soul Train dancing stuff, it was kind of awkward, and I didn't quite get that. Um, I like the mold on Beetlejuice's face. I did like the little bit of the romance between Jenna Ortega's character and the guy. Even though it was like that her crashing into the fence and all that was just kind of weird. It didn't quite make sense. What was not memorable was the Danny Elfman score. I do not remember it being impactful at all. My overall, if I was going to rate this, I would probably give this a 3 out of 10. If I didn't see the original Beetlejuice and there wasn't original Beetlejuice and I saw this, I would probably still be very frustrated. I might be curious by some of the creativity, but we've seen a lot of stuff inspired by Beetlejuice after this, since we've already seen Beetlejuice, and it was the pinnacle. It was the pinnacle of creativity of like horror comedies back then. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
it was so unbelievably cool. So you have a lot to live up to, and it just seems like Tim Burton is not really there. He's phoning it in.
I'm curious how much of a movie and story is sitting on some cutting room floor somewhere right now.
Yeah.
I am quite curious about that because I can't believe that the original intention was what I just saw. I still like refuse to believe that. I feel like there's an extra half hour that ties some bows around some of these things.
Yeah. Well,
but,
this is what. Yeah, this is what hangs. I found this at a thrift store. This photo, it's an actual printed photograph too. It's not like a poster that was ever mass produced. This is the most expensive piece of artwork I've ever paid for. Made by my friend Todd Roby.
Sick.
It's all like 3D.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah. So this hangs right here in the goat bar. So I will continue to enjoy these two pieces and enjoy the first movie, and maybe even the animated cartoon. Maybe I'll watch that a little bit again because that was kind of fun. I don't remember all the details of that one, but we're stuck with watching the first movie over and over, which is the most beautiful thing. And I will never watch the Beetlejuice 2 again.
Yeah, I was supposed to see Beetlejuice 2 with my girlfriend, but today Ack and I went to like the first possible showing, and I was like, "Oh, it's okay. I'll just see it again." But I might have to talk I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. But
Dude, go to the
I don't want to see it again.
Go to the 11:30 screening, and that morning wake up at like 5:30 a.m. and be like,
Just
"Oh
get
man,
a nice nap."
yeah." I'd be like, "Oh babe, no 5:30 a.m. wake up that early. Oh, you can sneak a nap if she's not around, right?" And they'd be like, "Oh man, my sleep pattern is so off." And then so when you get to the theater at 11:30 that night, you're like, "Yeah, I'm ready. I got my coffee or whatever," and don't drink the coffee, and they just snore away, and you're gonna be just fine. You never have to watch that again.
There's my Starbucks cup of fucking Benadryl and NyQuil.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks.
Film villains being fucking film villains today. We talked some shit.
Our final call with Beetlejuice is fuck Beetlejuice.